Cowboys fans, this is one of those weeks where the air already feels differente around the facility, because whenever Kansas City shows up on the schedule, you know it is going to be a battle. And even K, the game is on a Thursday, which always seems to throw every team off rhythm. The energy around this matchup feels like something extra. Dallas is rolling into this one, wearing the alternate uniforms that everyone loves, while the Chiefs come in dealing with their own set of issues. It is one of those situations where both teams are beat up, both teams are tired, and a short turnaround forces everyone to dig deep in a way the schedule just does not do on Sundays. And let me tell you, the injury conversations for this game are all over the place. Dallas will not have its rookie tackle out there, and even though the staff has not said it outright, the hints have been strong enough to make it clear. On the defensive side, there is that question mark around Kalen Carson after he left the previous game saying it was just dehydration, only for a hamstring issue to pop up on the participation report the very next day. That is never a good sign on a short week. Everyone else for Dallas showed up as limited in practice, but those designations on a Thursday game do not always mean much. Most of those guys are expected to suit up and grind it out. The real concerns are the players who did not improve at all during the week, and for now, Carson and the rookie linemen are the ones to watch. Kansas City comes in with their own problems, losing Noah Gray and Trey Smith, and those are not minor losses. Concussions and high ankle sprains do not magically disappear with 2 or 3 days of prep. The rest of their report is full of guys dealing with bumps and bruises, which is normal for this kind of schedule, but it still matters. When you look at the list of names playing through something, it becomes obvious that both teams are walking into this matchup far from 100%. And that sets the stage for a game where depth, conditioning, and pure grit play a bigger role than usual. Now, when you talk about this game, you cannot avoid the matchup that defines everything. The Dallas pass rush against the Kansas City offensive line that has been shaky and now even more banged up than usual. Every quarterback in the league struggles when pressured. There is not one single passer who performs better under duress compared to a clean pocket. That does not exist. Patrick Mahomes is one of the best in the world at navigating chaos, but even he drops off significantly when bodies start flying at him. His efficiency goes from elite to below average when he is constantly chased, which is why this matchup becomes the heart of the entire conversation. Dallas needs Ezra, Armstrong, and the interior group to attack the weak links at guard, especially with Kansas City sliding backups and starting roles. They have tackle Jawan Taylor, who often lines up deep and draws penalties, and another side that is not consistently held up. The Cowboys used 5-man fronts to rattle Philadelphia not long ago, and nothing about Kansas City's line suggests they should change that approach. This is the type of game where Dan Quinn's group has to take control early, because giving Mahomes time is the fastest way to lose momentum. But pressure alone is not enough. This is one of those weeks where Dallas has to fully commit to playing man coverage. Yes, everyone knows this team loves sitting in zone looks, loves reading the quarterback, loves squeezing routes underneath, but Patrick Mahomes destroys zone defenses. He's always done it. His accuracy and ability to find open windows become lethal when defenders are dropping instead of challenging. Against man coverage, though, his completion percentage falls dramatically. His yards per attempt drop by nearly half. His turnovers go up. It is the only approach that consistently makes him uncomfortable, and there is no way around it. Dallas has to trust its corners to win these matchups. Rashee Rice was outstanding against zone last week, piling up more than 100 yards almost effortlessly. Against man coverage, he was nearly erased. That pattern has followed Kansas City all season long. They are far less dangerous when forced into tight coverage, when receivers must win one-on-one instead of waiting for Mahomes to manipulate defenders out of position. If Dallas chooses to lean on zone all night, this game gets away from them fast. Playing man does not guarantee success, but not playing it almost guarantees struggle. Another element that cannot be ignored is Chris Jones and the havoc he can create inside. His numbers this year have not always shown his full impact, but every offensive coach in the league knows what he can do. He is explosive, strong, and disruptive in a way few interior defenders are. Booker, Smith, and the rest of the Cowboys' interior line have to prepare for a high-stress matchup every single snap. Jones lives for games like this, and Dallas cannot allow him to wreck drives before they even develop. Then there's the chess match involving the Kansas City Blitz. Their coordinator loves sending creative pressures. He brings defensive backs, rotates safeties late, and disguises looks just long enough to force quarterbacks into mistakes. The thing is, Dallas has a quarterback who historically thrives when teams send the house. One bad game against the Saints does not erase a career of torching aggressive fronts. When he sees blitz coming, he usually punishes it. The question is how much Kansas City is willing to test that. They have blitzed less this season, and when they have, the results have not always paid off. Dallas will have chances to exploit these looks, but only if protections hold and routes develop on time. And even though both teams have their struggles defensively, Kansas City has quietly built one of the better first-down run defenses lately. Teams keep trying to run early downs against them, and the Chiefs keep stuffing those attempts for minimal gains. They have been especially strong when their base personnel is on the field, attacking gaps quickly and forcing second and long situations. Dallas loves to run the ball early in drives, so this becomes another critical battle that shapes everything else. If the Cowboys start the night with 2 or 3 short gains on early downs, suddenly they're back in those uncomfortable third and medium situations where Kansas City can unleash all of its disguised pressures. That is how the Chiefs win games. They get you into long yardage downs and then confuse you until something breaks. Dallas cannot fall into that trap. And as we shift into the second half of this breakdown, this is where the strategy really becomes the story of the game, because Dallas cannot simply rely on talent. Talent won't beat Kansas City. Discipline, execution, and situational awareness have to be perfect, and historically, those are the types of games where the Cowboys either rise to the moment or fall apart at the seams. There's rarely a middle ground, and that's why this particular matchup becomes so fascinating. It's not just about the stars, it's about the subtle parts of the game, the things fans don't always see until the replay shows it in slow motion. Block angles, pre-snap communication, how linebackers identify motion, how receivers read leverage, all the little details stacked on top of one another. Let's start with the biggest storyline on the offensive side, Dak Prescott and the receivers. Dak has played some extremely sharp football this season, but the chemistry between him and his top targets has gone through some frustrating stretches, especially in moments where the Cowboys desperately needed clean execution. CeeDee Lamb, despite the talent and the flashes, has had games where the drops and miscues felt like gut punches to the entire offense. And against a team like Kansas City, where possessions matter more than usual, Dallas cannot afford any wasted opportunities. The Chiefs don't need many chances to swing momentum, and Mahomes doesn't need many possessions to put up points. That's why the wide receiver rotation becomes critical. Right now, George Pickens has legitimately made a case as the most reliable option week to week. His physicality, his willingness to win contested catches, and his ability to create separation when Dak needs it most have made him a true WR1 caliber performer. Lamb still has the higher ceiling, but Pickens has brought that steady presence every drive. And in a game where every snap feels like a chess piece being moved, consistency matters more than highlight plays. Dak needs Pickens and Lamb to play sharp, focused football from snap one, and he needs them to convert those tough third downs that keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline. And speaking of Mahomes, the Cowboys linebackers are going to have one of their most exhausting nights of the season trying to contain not only him, but also the way Kansas City manipulates defensive rules. The Chiefs stretch the field horizontally as well as anyone in football, using motion, misdirection, and layered concepts to force linebackers into conflict. One wrong step, it's a first down. One misread, suddenly Kelsey is wide open. One moment of hesitation, Mahomes breaks the pocket and hits a receiver on a scramble drill. That's why the linebacking group must play with absolute discipline. They cannot overcommit to the run. They cannot chase ghost motions. They cannot fall into the trap of following Mahomes too aggressively when he moves behind the line. The Chiefs bait defenders into abandoning their responsibilities better than almost any team in the league. But if Dallas can maintain discipline inside and control the middle of the field, the game becomes dramatically different. Because for as explosive as Kansas City can be, they rely heavily on creating mismatches through formations rather than raw one-on-one dominance by their receivers. Rashee Rice has turned into a volume option, Xavier Worthy brings the speed element, and Kelce brings the legendary consistency, but none of them are unbeatable in coverage if your defense plays sound, physical football. The Cowboys' corners must trust their technique in man coverage, avoid the temptation to peek into the backfield, and stay attached to their assignments even when Mahomes extends plays longer than any human quarterback should be allowed to. And while this game is going to come down to execution on both sides, the trenches will quietly determine everything. Nate Thomas stepping in at left tackle is one of the most pressure-filled situations a young lineman can face because the Chiefs' front, while not deep with consistent threats, does have one monster that changes everything: George Karlaftis. His pressure numbers have been absurd, and Kansas City lines him up everywhere. Thomas is going to get tested early and often, and the Cowboys cannot allow the pocket to collapse consistently from that left side. If Thomas can simply hold his ground and prevent Karlaftis from taking over, Dallas will have a real chance to control the flow of the game. And on the opposite side, the Cowboys' defense must capitalize on Kansas City's lack of reliable edge production. The Chiefs simply don't have multiple guys who win their one-on-ones consistently. That means Dallas, especially Pickens and Lamb, should have time to execute longer developing routes if the line holds up. This is the type of matchup where Dak Prescott can open things up downfield, not by forcing hero throws, but by taking the calculated shots that soften the Chiefs' coverage and make their blitz packages less effective. But let's not pretend this game doesn't come with its own emotional weight. Whenever the Cowboys face the Chiefs, especially in a primetime slotted environment like a Thursday headliner, the entire football world watches. And with the national spotlight comes the pressure on players like Lamb, Prescott, and Parsons to deliver signature performances. That's why mental toughness becomes just as important as physical talent. Dallas has had moments this season where they started slow and had to fight their way back in a rhythm. Against Kansas City, starting slow is almost a guaranteed disaster. If the Chiefs get a 2-score early lead, they transform into one of the most dangerous teams to chase. Their defense becomes more aggressive, their offense becomes more unpredictable, and the game slips away possession by possession. Dallas must open the game sharp, focused, and aggressive. They cannot wait until the second quarter to settle in. They cannot afford empty early drives, and they cannot afford conservative play calling in the red zone. You do not beat Mahomes by kicking field goals. You beat Mahomes by scoring touchdowns, finishing drives, and matching his intensity snap after snap. That is the formula. And even with all the challenges, all the storylines, all the moving pieces, the truth is simple. Dallas absolutely can win this game. They have the tools. They have the firepower. They have the personnel on both sides of the ball to go toe-to-toe with Kansas City. But winning requires a level of execution that the Cowboys do not always show consistently. This game becomes a test of identity. Are the Cowboys the physical, disciplined, explosive team they believe they are? Or are they still the talented but inconsistent squad that shows flashes but cannot sustain greatness? But before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Dallas Cowboys. Feel free to share your thoughts on the news in the comments as well. The Dallas Cowboys, a franchise perpetually bathed in the relentless glare of the spotlight, are once again at the epicenter of an explosive, unsettling rumor that has sent seismic tremors throughout the league, suggesting a fundamental and potentially irreparable fracturing within the team's inner sanctum. Unconfirmed whispers emanating from deep within the organization paint a vivid, chaotic picture of a post-game scene described by one anonymous source only as an absolute maelstrom, following a performance that clearly did not meet the expectations of the locker room's most dynamic playmaker. At the heart of this unfolding drama is star wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, who is reportedly furious his rage allegedly boiling over in a spectacular fashion that transcended mere frustration and entered the territory of a full-blown crisis. Insiders suggest that the atmosphere in the immediate aftermath was thick with a palpable tension, far surpassing the usual disappointment of a hard-fought battle. This wasn't just players exchanging pointed glances. It was, according to these unverifiable accounts, a volcanic eruption that has been long building beneath the surface of the team's veneer of control and focus. Lamb, often reserved and letting his electric play do the talking, allegedly became the voice of the collective resentment, his outburst a startling indicator of the deep-seated issues that are now, apparently, impossible to ignore. Though the exact catalyst of the locker room crisis remains shrouded in mystery, the organization has maintained a staggering, deafening silence. Speculation is rampant, with fingers being pointed everywhere from the offensive play-calling structure to the alleged lack of defensive accountability. One rumor suggests Lamb's fury was directed not at a teammate, but at a specific coaching decision late in the contest, a strategic failure that the star felt betrayed the player's effort. Another, far more sensational theory circulating among the league's gossip mongers posits a heated exchange with the team's veteran leadership, implying a rift between the established order and the younger, highly productive core who feel their input and talent are being stifled. The intensity of Lamb's reaction, described as throwing objects and unrestrained shouting, has led to the inevitable question: what happens next? This is not a simple sideline tantrum. This is the alleged public, albeit internally contained, shattering of team harmony involving one of the league's elite talents. His emotional investment, while commendable, has now created a logistical and psychological nightmare for the coaching staff, raising serious concerns about their ability to rein in the strong personalities and manage the internal discontent that has now unmistakably bubbled to the surface. This alleged crisis is far more significant than a typical post-game venting session. It hints at a deeper systemic problem, suggesting that the pressure cooker environment in Dallas has finally found its escape valve in the form of CeeDee Lamb's unrestrained wrath. The reverberations of this alleged incident are likely to be felt for weeks, potentially defining the rest of the team's trajectory and fueling the narrative that the Cowboys are once again destined to self-destruct from within. The team's immediate focus must shift from schematic adjustments to emotional triage, a task that will demand unprecedented levels of leadership and discretion to quell the fire Lamb is rumored to have ignited. The silence from Frisco is loud, and the football world is holding its collective breath, waiting to see if this furious outburst marks a turning point or merely the beginning of the end for their title aspirations. The buzz is deafening. Something broke in that locker room, and it appears to be far more consequential than a simple defeat. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Dallas Cowboys, please subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. We always look forward to your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.